We started from a humble model shop in Sofia, but quickly expanded and taught thousands of specialists from all over the world and nurtured their progress in some of the biggest companies in the world. DesignMorphine is a catalyst for collaboration with people who we admire deeply as individuals and professionals. The team in the moment is comprised of 35 talented architects and designers and collaborating organizations, which gives us a multidisciplinary approach to design and its education across a gradient of applications. We are dedicated to academia, but we are also all professionals who practice our craft daily. Through DesignMorphine, we come together and innovate through creative cross-pollination. This allows for versatility within the team, but also we are constantly learning and bettering ourselves. So some statistics now. For the past 6 years, almost 7 years now, we have taught over 4,000 students from 82 countries. We've traveled in a number of cities all over the world. We've had over 100 events like workshops, webinars, lectures, and many more. We use multiple software and hardware, and many of them we apply for topics they weren't even meant for. Like, for example, Rhino, it was initially created for the marine industry. Our workshops surpass the teaching of technical skills and show a new way of thinking about design. And actually, we are very proud of that. It's an international experience of meeting new people with similar interests but different backgrounds. And while learning new workflows, every participant develops a project. They apply the new skills and tackle problems while having the support of the tutors. We always challenge our students to give their best, and at the end of the workshop, they have a new project for their portfolio. Many of our participants have been accepted to different universities like Harvard, the Architectural Association, SciArch, and many more. Others have been accepted to companies like the accredited Architects, Big Foster and Partners, and other reputable offices. And now some examples of our students' work. Here, top left, you could see, for example, one of the first projects in our first advanced design workshop in Sofia that I mentioned in the beginning. Our students' work are on multiple scales and topics, jewelry, architecture, installation, but one thing always connects them, and this is the experimentation and unique workflows. We are also invested in fabrication, not only the virtual world. Here you can see work with parametrically driven patterns on fabric that became a lamp. Another example, it became a fashion design piece. Or you can also see 3D printed furniture with robotic arms. We also have collaborations on product design with our partners. And now you could see one example from collaboration with the amazing Arturo Tedeschi. We are very proud of this suspension lamp that we created together called Horizon, which encapsulates a free-form 3D printed shape with a handmade glass shelter manufactured in Murano, Italy. We believe that the industry won't only evolve through a constant technological upgrade of products, but reconsider values like uniqueness, handmaking, and even imperfection. Horizon is a hybrid object between evolution and tradition. So now I would like to invite Michael to continue the presentation.
Sure, thank you, Sweti, for that. So today I'm just going to be briefly introducing the concept of computational design. If you're not familiar with it fully, it will be kind of just a short introduction. There you go. So, computational design is the application of computational strategies to the design process, and it aims to enhance that process by encoding design decisions using basically using a computer language and different connections between relationships and systems. And you might ask, well, isn't the computer using computer design computational design? I mean, it sounds like it would be, but in early days of the profession, as we know, especially in architecture, designers drew by hand, and each stroke of the pencil was basically just a need to document the object you were designing. Then as technology advanced, drafting boards and pencils were replaced by computers. However, the process of design and documentation remained exactly the same. Only the medium had changed, which is basically when you come to, which is CAD, computer-aided design, where you're just literally translating the kind of manual tools into digital tools, but it's almost a one-to-one translation. And initially computers, they were basically just used for their memory. It was so you can save things, delete things, transfer things. That was kind of the big thing, but you were still just drawing manually. But of course, as computers get faster, speeds and processing abilities give birth to lots of new aspects of design, one of them being computational design, which is a different way of thinking where you can program a computer to actually perform tasks for us rather than having to do every step manually. You can work side by side, and you become a designer of systems rather than a designer of an object, of a finalized object. And you can look at things like Autodesk has kind of these documentations of all their most used commands and the way that they're used with other commands and all the links. So if you can begin to, document these things, you can understand that the relationships between them, and you can start to automate, create macros, create collections of these things. And funny enough, in most of the Autodesk software documentation that they have, a lot of the most used command is deleting, erasing, and redoing. So computational design is it's just a different way of thinking versus CAD, where CAD is basically you're evaluating a problem, you have a problem or a design you're trying to solve, you're performing operations to reach the result of that design. And once you reach the result, if something needs to change, you need to go all the way back to performing the operations, right? Whether it's through undoing or deleting, but you have to redo stuff. Where kind of computational design thinking is you evaluate problems, you define parameters, or basically define a system, and you execute that solution. And when a change is needed to be done, you're just editing parameters and re-executing that solution. So you're just basically changing inputs rather than having to manually redo stuff. A contemporary, a great example of this is Gaudi's Sagrada Familia. It's an ecosystem geometry that emerged by a set of rules led by structural stability of stone. The geometric language was documented in manuals that were destroyed during the Spanish Civil War. And today, computational design is actually a key to restoring its original design intent, since the building logic is encoded into the already existing structure of the church. They are actually using computational tools to finish, to finish this masterpiece, because it was using that logic. Okay, so computational design is also, it's a mindset. It's not, you don't just need a computer to do it. A contemporary case for this is the Sports Hall of Fame by Trahan Architects, where computational structure system was defined and was able to adjust itself to changes in the architectural form. The rules of the system create the structure. The architect creates the form, and sometimes the computation will restrict the form so that the structure can work. And this helps prevent the designer from making mistakes, as well as frees up much time for mundane tasks such as and lets the architects think more about big picture gestures. So you would be designing and defining the overall form, spatial qualities, the things that architects should really be caring about, and you're letting the computer figure out and analyze how the structure should work and the limitations that are caused by the structural system. In some early cases, and there's more even more advanced cases than this. There's many parameters defined for logic of something like a tower, and based on factors such as floor area, apartment allocation, views, pricing, you can start to again define a piece of architecture. And so what this means again is you're defining a system and getting an output of that system. You can change the inputs of that system to get a different output of the system, and you can also be a curator of those outputs. Right, so you become, designer becomes system designer and a curator. And even in examples like this, and there's even further examples of this in things that you might have seen called Finch 3D, which it's just a combination of curve matching, furniture planning, with ideas like machine learning and generative algorithms, to develop floor plans based on footprints. And now these are based on things that are documented. There's things like building codes, egress, all these things that they're factual, they're real, they need to be there by law, by regulation, by human comfort. So if these are factual things, we can encode them into a system, and then you become the curator of the result, and you can make micro manipulations of that. And this to some people is a scary thought, but it's actually something we've been doing, even before this. When you go out and you buy a book that teaches you about different kinds of floor plans and references, it's essentially the same thing, just in a lot longer, more manual situation, right? We've always been looking at references. We've always been looking to books of knowledge, but now we have the ability to encode those systems, and have to think less about them and focus more on design aspects. Another example is the Zaha Hadid architect and strategist to develop a custom workflow with repeated iterations-based design and structural analysis. It also utilizes material-saving parameters developed by Altair Technologies. In this video, we can see the program parameters that they developed in order to allow them to visualize how the chair would look in different colors with more perforations, etc., and structural systems. Right, so you're playing within the variation of those different looks and colors, but all along the important thing is that structural integrity is always being maintained. So you're playing within those realistically defined parameters and systems that will always output a usable and functional object. And computational design enables you to automate repetitive tasks, lets you prove your design decisions with real data, and forces you to think of design in terms of chunks of processes that can be used in many conditions. And the best part, the best part for me and most interesting is that computational design is multidisciplinary and multi-scalar, because it allows for this mindset to be applied across all industries of design. If we take a step further and into the fusion of multiple softwares and hardwares and use them unconventionally, that's where you find the most breathtaking and truly innovative design ideas. So, a lot of times you'll hear about computational architecture, parametric architecture, but this idea of computational design is actually, more and more becoming its own profession, its own identity, which can touch and reach, many different objects, even just looking in this thing. And it's not even just, it's easy to show in a presentation aesthetically, but it's not just an aesthetic thing. It's a structural thing. It's a manufacturing thing. It's a problem-solving thing that can allow you to move into all these different fields. And I personally have the experience of being able to do that, to going from architecture to product design at Nike, at footwear design. From 1 week to the next week, I was a different profession, and the transition was pretty seamless because the tools, the systems were the same. It was just the learning took place about the specifics in the kind of manufacturing or the object you're making. Would you?
Yes, thank you, Michael. I'll take on the second part, which is just one second. We're in the same space, so so I'm excited. Just a second, guys. 1 second. Okay. Okay, so today I'm excited to share with you DesignMorphine's newest endeavor that we're gathered together for. So we just launched a fully accredited Master of Science in Computational and Advanced Design. And this program is fully crafted to be experienced from an online platform. And in this way, we basically aim to prepare the new generation of designers, not only to expand their horizons and stay relevant, but also to thrive and drive progress in an era of constant change and rapidly emerging new technologies. So computational design and advanced design is no longer just the profession of the future, as Mike just mentioned. It's basically something that is relevant right now. It's relevant to all professions because the mindset and techniques and the software taught in the program can be applied to any creative field. And this is vital because it allows for great versatility. So the program is fully accredited and worldwide recognized by the University of Architecture, Civil Engineering and Geodesy. And this is the same university that Svetlina and myself studied in Sofia. And we have amazing partners like Shape Diver who are supporting the students with one of the 3 scholarships available, and partners like Chaos Group, Parametric Architecture, Rhino, and Data Design. And the team of educators is absolutely fantastic. You get to meet them today, and they're going to have the opportunity to introduce themselves after this part. And they all have real life professional experience from the best companies and universities in the world. And basically the program is organized in a unique way. It's based on 5 leading design chapters and 5 supporting technical and theoretical labs. And they spanned over 9 months. And during the leading design chapter phase, students will respond to a scenario, and they will start with the generation of the enhanced human body. And then they will progress to develop more complex architectural entities and build systems and networks, reaching the state of cosmogony, which basically means building a new world. And while through the supporting technical lab, students will master a variety of software and hardware for parametric and generative design and get to utilize virtual reality. They will visualize their concepts through the media lab and learn to work with prototyping machines, the swarm robotics. And in the theory lab, there will be an opportunity to formulate a concrete and expandable theoretical frame to support one's vision. There is going to be no right or wrong approach, but you will be called to envision your own scenario. Moving into the prosthesis chapter, which is the first chapter of the master's degree. Basically, as we all know, everything that humanity has designed so far is based on the way that our bodies are designed. And the prime focus area revolves around the technological and cultural prostheses, since technology can and eventually will shape not only our minds, but our body also. So we will start with this scenario-based approach and envision the fundamental element, which is the human body and the technological future that will operate within. And we will be looking into cyborgs, half human, half machines, exoskeletons, and augmented beings. Also on the software side for this, we will be working first starting with Maya and ZBrush, which were, there's softwares that are used in the animation industry. They're used in Zahadit Architects and MAD Architects too. They're basically integrated right now in the workflow for architecture too, and they're very, very easy to work with, especially if we want to create any free form exploration or organic shapes, but also it's just easier to handle complex shapes which are not being prepared for prototyping immediately, I would say. So moving into the next chapter 2, which is about the living cell or the corpuscle. So we're working here with basically like everything is revolving around these living conditions and spaces that this body that we built will require. So the body is the stepping stone, and we will be working on with the living space. We will be working with the interior and exterior challenges that will arise. And we will be answering questions about ephemerality, mobility, adaptability, and transformability to create this first cell. This is basically a component-based design, and we will be looking into user interaction systems. We will be moving from polygons and an interoperability workflow between Maya and Rhino. So we will be introducing some of the new sub-D tools in Rhino 7, working with NURBS modeling too, and an introduction to Grasshopper in order to develop this first living cell. In chapter 3, amalgamation. This basically, the objective here will be to conceive and explore the way that these living cells now are developing and are creating communities and clusters. And here we'll be answering the very question of what constitutes a community of people. I will be also have to examine how external conditions impact and shape these living in public spaces. And we will be working with the generation and optimization of rule-based structures. We'll be exploring Grasshopper more for this phase, and we'll be working with parametric and generative algorithms in order to explore these aggregations, and also start looking into how the external conditions also, as I mentioned, impact this. On the next stage, as you can imagine, you know, it's time for kinesis, which basically means movement. It's about, we'll start from the vehicle design, and then we'll expand into various complex systems we interweave together by the transportation and mobility. Systems. So we'll be working with horizontal, vertical, underground, and organic growth-based systems. So here is an amazing time to start working with Houdini. And again, we're After Effects to visualize and enhance the students' concepts, especially Houdini. It's a very, very powerful software. And I think that we're going to have like some amazing outcomes with combining all this software and building in complexity as we go. And in the last chapter of the master's degree, we will be looking into cosmogony. So building a whole world or a whole system interweaved together. So all these previous stages lead up to this stage, in which we will develop and assess the larger scale of this envisioned world, basically the city. And by zooming out, of course, new challenges will arise in terms of increased complexity and encoding behavior. And this is going to be our primary focus. So we'll be working with C# and agent-based growth algorithms with Grasshopper, and we'll be mastering these workflows. So as you see, like as we move through these processes, we're always using every chapter as a different stepping stone in order to build something cohesive, to build a story, to build something that it's you know, like a unique workflow. And also as we're building in scale, starting from, you know, like the human body to working with the whole world, here we're actually working with we're advancing in the learning process of the softwares too. So we started with Maya, moving to Rhino and Grasshopper, Houdini, and then like encoding with Grasshopper. So I'm going to introduce some of the labs quickly, just to give you a taste of what is going to be in these 5 theoretical and technical labs. We are going to be working with the theory lab first, and this is an essential vertebra of all leading chapters. The main focus will be evolving the theoretical frame across 3 different axes. So mostly like we'll be working with symbiotic relationships of new bodies with AI, also emergent complexities of the new cosmos, and ways to collaborate with and utilize patterns and behaviors of the natural environment. There is no pre-given solution or predetermined truth, let's say, in this theory lab. It's a place for exploration. So some access to theory development will be given to have some foundation to build upon. But exploration of the structure and how all ties together will be up to the students. And we work with a plethora of diversified materials like books, of course, but we'll introduce like movies, anime, games, TV shows, anything that inspires you really, to be honest. Moving into the prototype lab, where the main focus will be, you know, some of the working with learning how to work with some of the prototyping machines that most are working right now, which entail like laser cutting, 3D printing, CNC milling, and vacuum forming. So the students will gain an understanding of these machines and will learn how to prepare their digital model and optimize the fabrication process, because this is something that definitely is going to be very, very useful for everyone in the real world, which is seeking to advance themselves and work in an environment where you're working with computational or even 3D design. And also we learn to utilize visualization software like Shape Diver for our partners for this master's degree. and other tools that outline a novel production workflow. And you will be asked to submit the visualized version. So there will be no requirements for real model building throughout the whole master's experience because it's virtual. And we understand that, of course, like it's not so easy to gain access through this in your own. So in the program outside of, the only thing that you will be required to build actually something is going to be in the robotics lab. So before I talk about the robotics lab, I would like to just say a couple of words about the media lab, which is going to be about the visualization and graphics and learn how to produce stunning CGI images. And in phase one, we'll have V-Ray, and again, like Chaos Group, who are supporting us, they're going to teach V-Ray rendering for Rhino and Grasshopper and Maya. And in the second phase, we'll be moving towards post-production with Photoshop, and we will be creating unique styles for rendering. And there's going to be a personal touch and attention to detail on how one wants to portray their vision. And in the robotics lab, we will be having multifunctional small robots. It's basically these small robots are called Swarm, and they're following specific conditions and rules, and there are sensors for sounds, luminosity, and movement that we will be using. And we'll be dealing with aspects such as material properties, geometry, joinery, assembly, programming, sequence, and essential, etc. But especially this lab is important because we will get to understand better the kinesis part of the master's program, and we'll see how these robots are going to be interacting with each other. We'll get an understanding how to actually use Arduino and how to build our own swarms. And the last lab of the master's program is the virtual reality lab. And basically here, as you all know right now, virtual reality is something that is like gaining a lot of interest in the world of, design, and all industries are starting to use it in order to even reach their customer and give them an opportunity to even interact with the program, with the product they're offering. So that's where, we're going to actually use it here to shape our digital projects and create an experience out of them. So in this lab, students will learn to utilize Unreal Engine and to turn parts of their projects into interactive VR models and make exciting animations and then demonstrate their concepts in this way. So this is a brief overview of what each chapter entails and which each lab is, but of course some of the tutors and leads for these chapters are going to introduce themselves, and at the end of the Q&A session you can ask more questions about them, and we're happy to expand more on this. We have also 4 webinars coming up in the beginning of February, which are inspired by the master's program, leading chapters, and they're basically a short online courses that just give a glimpse into what is taught in the program. So if you're interested to know more about some of the techniques or how, some of the softwares are working, that's a great opportunity for this. And also, in order to keep in touch with us, if you already haven't, please feel free, to join and just follow some of our social media, because especially through Instagram, I think that that's the best way to get all the news and everything that is relevant right now. So yeah, thank you so much. I think that we can actually start with the next phase with the introductions of the team. And I think that like we can start with that and have the Q&A session at the end. So we can start with a very special guest we're having today. And this is the Dean of the University of Architectural, Civil Engineering and Geodesy in Bulgaria, Orlin Davchev. So Orlin, we're very happy to have you today with us, and we're very excited for this program and for the opportunity that you're giving us. So yeah, please feel free to introduce yourself and the university in a couple of words. We'll be very excited to hear a bit more about it.
Thank you, Pavlina. Hello, everyone. Let me introduce myself briefly first. I'm a dean of the Faculty of Architecture in the University of Architecture, Civil Engineering and Geodesy here in Sofia, Bulgaria. I'm also a founder of architecture studio Neo Design. For its almost 80-year history, our university has established itself as a prestigious and world-renowned educational institution with a host of significant accreditations, including that of the Royal Institute of British Architects, along with classic time-proven specialties in the Faculty of Architecture. We are constantly striving to provide new, innovative and attractive educational programs that meet the requirements and demand of the new generation and the business. Definitely, we live in a time filled with new opportunities and challenges. State-of-the-art digital technologies put the architecture profession at a crossroad for its future development. The digital transformation requires a complete rethinking of all the processes in the construction sector. Emergent digital technologies and innovations in architecture, such as the application of parametric design, rapid prototyping, responsive architecture, morphological optimization, digital twins, artificial intelligence, cloud computing, robotics, and augmented reality are just some of the new opportunities offered by digital transformation. It is entirely up to us how we will take advantage of these new digital tools to fully unleash the potential of the architectural profession in our present day environment. And I believe that the architectural practice is facing a whole new phase of future development, and we all have the incredible chance to be part of this global transformation. And on behalf of the Faculty of Architecture, I would like to congratulate Cveti and Pavlina for the incredible efforts that they have made to compile and develop such an innovative and very high quality educational program. Also, I warmly greet all those participants who have chosen to be together today and are interested in launching the first of its kind master's program in computational and advanced design. I wish a great success to the program, and I'm convinced that with this quality content and proven capacity of all the teaching staff, will become a real benchmark for our sector. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Orlin.
Thank you so much, Professor Davchev.
So basically, if tutor is not here, so, not everyone. There's a lot of high quality tutors, but also working professionals. So not everyone can be here. So if someone is not here, I'm just going to introduce them. And the first one, who's one of our mentors of the program, is Arturo Tedeschi, who couldn't make it at this time. If you don't know Arturo, he's an architect and computational design specialist with more than 10 years of experience in avant-garde segment of architecture and industrial design, furniture, automotive, installations, products, footwear, etc. He works as a consultant for leading companies providing services and training related to algorithmic modeling, complex geometry, digital fabrication, and data-driven design. He is the author of the Parametric Architecture with Grasshopper and the AAD Algorithm Aided Design, worldwide reference book on algorithmic modeling with Grasshopper. He taught and was an invited speaker at the Architecture Association School London, Politecnico de Milano, IUAV Venice, University of Sydney, Dubai Institute of Design and Innovation, University of Edinburgh, Universidad Europea Madrid, and his personal work has been featured on international magazines and exhibited worldwide. He's also collaborated with major architecture and design firms, including Zaha Hadid Architects and Ross Lovegrove Studio. And now I will give it to Ada.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for being with us today. I'm Ada, and I'll be your core leader. What that means is that I'll be guiding you besides the teaching assistant throughout this amazing journey of 9 months. We would explore together everything that you'll be going through in this period of time. A little bit about my background. I studied at the Technical University of Vienna in Austria, where I also worked in different offices on all architectural phases. My latest position was at BIC in Copenhagen. I've started their computational design department, Big Ideas, where we work mainly on environmental analysis and simulations. Later, I joined different design teams and worked on projects of various scales and usages. My computational design journey started through curiosity, let's say, DesignMorphine workshops. And later I became part of the family. This amazing experience and community gave me so much that I want to give back to the students, our future students, because this is the best way to learn. Yay! And I'm very excited to meet you all, and I wish you good luck with your applications.
So next we have Tung.
Yeah, hello everybody. My name is Tung, and I will be assisting alongside Ada. Basically, I will be helping everyone with everything related to the tools and to the your work. I'm currently a master's student here in Sofia in the University of Architecture, Civil Engineering, and Geodesy. A little bit about myself. I've been involved in the field of computational design since my very first year. I've been to, I think, like 7 or 8 DesignMorphine workshops, all of the webinars, lectures, and they really inspired me to follow this path. And I also believe that learning with you guys will be the most interesting thing for me. And I'm really looking forward to working with all of you, and of course, good luck with your application. Thank you.
Thanks, Tung. Alexander.
Hi, everyone. My name is Alex. I originally hail from Serbia, but I moved to London in 2014 to study at the DRL in the AA, where I met a lot of the people in this call as well. After that, I started working for an experimental studio in London called Y21 Design, where we mostly worked through issues of digital fabrication and how we can actually use digital workflows to inform how we work through these issues. After that, we also started working more with students because the founder of the company was also working in Bartlett and the AA, where I was helping out as a software tutor, which culminated in also a visiting school in Seoul in South Korea in 2017. After that, I joined Zahedid Architects, where I work as a senior designer currently, and also as a course tutor at DRL, where I used to be a student. And at that point, we also was given the opportunity to work with everyone here in DesignMorphine on the masters, which was a really exciting new chapter, I would say. And alongside Joe Cook, who will be my co-tutor in the course, I will be teaching the prosthesis chapter, where we will be really getting into something that I think those of you who have attended the webinar late last year will also be aware that we'll be getting into the more intimate architecture of the prosthesis, something that is connected to the body and sort of really pushing the questions of how we can approach spatial design and architecture if even the body of the humans that sort of inhabit it is not used as a given, but as something that we can further explore through the use of design and prosthetics. So I think like that, like as a of like an intro chapter into whatever your projects will further develop into, and I can't wait to meet all of you and sort of kick off this really amazing 9-month journey. Thanks.
Thank you. Next is Joe Cook, who couldn't be here today. Joe is a British computational designer operating at the intersection of architecture, industrial, and fashion design. Joe is currently expanding his research as part of the Deep Futures unit at Studio Hani Rashid at the University of Applied Arts, Vienna. Joe has previously worked at Coupe Himmelblau, award-winning UK furniture company Esomi, as well as consulting as a 3D and computational design specialist in the UK since 2015. Over the last decade, he has had extensive experience teaching software as a certified McNeil Rhino Grasshopper tutor and has taught computational design software techniques at the AA Visiting School in Jordan, as well as privately in Austria, Spain, UK, the Middle East, and China. So next is Alejandro.
Hello guys. So I'm Alejandro. I did study in DRL as well at the AA. I work currently as a senior architect at Zahedid Architects. Basically, I work like the stages from design through the whole rationalization process at Zaha until we get into the construction drawings. I've been teaching with DesignMorphine for over 3 years now. And I also teach a number of workshops with AA, with Bartlett, and with some other groups of online teaching. So I worked in the past in Grimso, in HKS, in some other firms, also back in Spain. And in general, very much interested on design to fabrication process, like not just the design, but like the beginning from the form finding, understand like, like different techniques, how you can approach design, and then how we get those designs into the actual construction process, like how we materialize that. So for the masters, I'll be covering with Radu the second chapter, and we'll be pretty much looking at kind of component-based strategies. Like we'll be looking at living cells and how we arrange cells in kind of like different ways, following a number of conditions, and like following data-driven strategies, like to kind of morph and create like different clustering techniques, let's say. But we'll continue with the presentation of these chapters once we kick off with the master. I hope like some of you join some of the webinars. We'll be trying to do some other webinars to further explain some of the ideas that we'll be researching on the master. And yeah, very much looking forward our master.
Thank you. Radu?
Hello everyone, my name is Radu. I graduated my master's degree here in Sofia in the University of Civil Engineering, Architecture and Geology in 2013, and I'm with DesignMorphine since 2014. And since then, I assisted and tutored more than 10 of DesignMorphine's workshops, where I met and worked with some of the amazing professionals you get to meet here. DesignMorphine and the experience that I gathered in those workshops inspired me to do my PhD concerning algorithmic modeling and its application in the architecture and interior design. And I'm also currently teaching in a university in the Faculty of Interior Design and Architecture, alongside with Professor Davchev. And the skills that my PhD and the DesignMorphine's workshop gave me helped me to improve my work and increase my productivity. So for the past few years, I'm leading my own design studio where I'm working on different interior design and commercial projects, where I get the chance to explore the potential and capacity of the computational design. Alejandro already summarized some of the things we're gonna teach alongside in the chapter 2, and some more of it will be shown in my webinar in February, where it will be a short glimpse of the chapter 2 of the masters. And like everybody else here, I'm really excited for this new beginning for us, and looking forward to meet everybody who is interested in the program. Thank you.
Thank you. Andre?
Hi, Mike. Hi, all. Thanks for the invite. So I'm Andre Padure, together with Alejandra Rojas. I'll be part of the amalgamation unit. We will be exploring geometric systems and different ways in which they can organize. To give a bit of a background about myself, I'm an architect by training, computational, and I pursued the computational design specialist, let's say, path. I've been in the industry for around 8 years. I'm generally interested in the use of geometry and on different scales and different projects. So I've had the great chance to work for Arcadis, Zaha Hadid Architects, Gensler, and now I'm a facade consultant for Front. And I'm generally interested in automation and making things as efficient as possible in a field where it can be extremely messy and complicated at times, especially when you get close to construction phase. So yeah, I'm very much looking forward to the beginning of the masters.
Thank you. Next is Alejandra. I don't know if she's here. No, okay. So Alejandra Rojas, maybe some of you had taken her webinar a few months ago, which was the procedural assemblies. She's a founder of By Alejandra Design, which focuses on creating intricate design products for both home decor and wearable art. She teaches at NYIT, NJIT, City College of New York. In 2013, she graduated from University of Waterloo while completing her co-ops at architectural studios in Toronto and London. Later, she completed her MArch at the AADRL in 2015. Her thesis, The Thread, explored design opportunities of a semi-autonomous airborne tensile system and was published by Architectural Digest magazine in the Parametricism 2.0 edition. Upon graduation, she moved to New York City, where she's been working for FFA and DR in interior design and ground-up buildings in New York City. The next tutor, who is part of the Kinesis chapter with Chantel, is Miroslav Naskov, who also couldn't be here today. Miroslav is an architect, computational designer, and founder of Mind Studio. He studied architecture at the New Bulgarian University and the Architectural Association School of Architecture in London. He holds a master's degree from the Design Research Lab, DRL. He believes that using cutting-edge technology is the right approach to solve problems and finding design opportunities. Miroslav has working experience from Populous as part of the design team on a landmark concert hall in London, UK. Also being part of Cluster Z front-end design at Zaha Hadid Architects and working on a number of major projects in Hong Kong. He's been a member of DesignMorphine since 2020. And next, I'll give it over to Chantal.
Yes. Hi, thanks, Michael. Hi, everyone. My name is Chantal. I am originally from Beirut, and I've been in London for the last 7 years now. I'm currently at ZHA as a senior architect. I've been there since 2018. And my work there is very technical, at the same time very creative, because I work on different projects, different stages so far. And besides that, on the other side, I am interested in generative art. So that's something I'm doing as my own personal exploration. And my design agenda, my personal one, is basically inspired by biology, landscape, geology, curvature, which is very seen at JHA as well. Patterns, science fiction, and music, to name a few. And that's something that's going to be very much highlighted in the Kinesis chapter, because it's going to be all about motion and transport, and with After Effects as well, which is something I'll be introducing. It's going to be quite interesting one. So yeah, just stay tuned for further information and further webinars, because that's something that's going to be developed even further in the future before we kick off the masters. Besides that, I'm highly interested and influenced in pursuing motion and filmmaking at the same time. So yeah, so that's it in a nutshell. And I hope you join my next webinar, which is inspired by the kinesis. So it's all about the particles and the trails and Houdini. So yeah, that's it.
We're looking forward to that webinar in February. Next is Mateusz.
Yes, hi. My connection might be quite weak here, so it might drop at some point. My name is Mateusz. I'm going to lead the last chapter, which is cosmogony, together with Madeline. And I'm going to focus on C# and coding. So we are going to create, well, let's say our own plugin in Grasshopper, but it will be, it will be a good excuse to learn, let's say, a bit more advanced coding, right? So it's not just scripting, it's actually more than that. We'll learn about the object-oriented programming and the fundamentals of it. So it will give us a good understanding of how to work with like real code. And I think it will be a very good experience for anyone who would like to work in the future with coding, actually, right? So I can see that with the computational designers today, there is sort of two groups. One group which is sticking with Grasshopper and just exploring different shapes and forms, how it can be used in practice. And then there is another group, and I consider myself this another group, for instance, of people who pursue coding as the principal method of work. And it kind of becomes its own, let's say, specialization in design. And it's and I can see it in not only in architecture, but also in design, automotive design, naval design, medical design even, right? So medical, the design of medical devices, and that's quite common. And I see that, you know, there is a market for that. And it is, I mean, it's really interesting time to do that right now. Yeah, so I mean, we were supposed to talk for 2 minutes. I think it's probably over.
It's okay. I'll just add that we don't know already, Mateusz.
Oh yeah, I should. Yeah, maybe I can talk about that as well. Yeah, I'm actually an owner of Object Consultancy and currently working as a teacher, research assistant, and a PhD in BTU Cottbus in Germany, where I actually yeah, I'm preparing a PhD thesis and titled Representation Methods for AI in Design, where we want to explore how should we provide data to AI so that it will be useful in design, not only architectural design, just design. I've been working with DesignMorphine since the very beginning, I think, right?
Yeah.
As far as I remember, many years. And we know each other for many years right now. So yeah, I'm not sure if you want to add anything. So,
and if anyone's familiar, like if anyone's already familiar with Grasshopper, also author of Owl, Starling, Squid, Anemone, Mesh Tools, and many other plugins you probably find floating around the forums.
Yeah.
Yeah, whatever.
Plugins. So that's plugins. They gave us quite a lot of recognition, let's say, like. And we made a lot of workshops just because people wanted to use the plugins, and that is fun.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
And the other part of the cosmogony chapter is Madeline. How do you pronounce the last name? You're better at that than me. Georgiev. There's too many like the same kind with different pronunciation. Anyway, Madeline holds an MArch from UCL Bartlett. He worked in the research lab, Wonder Lab, directed by Elisa Andrasek, alongside Andy Loomis and Dang Ham Cam. The main focus was on advanced computational workflows with the use of high-resolution simulations and robotic fabrication. He continues his involvement at the frontier of advanced architecture and design at the convergence with science and technology. He was a key part of the team at the National Pavilion of Croatia for the Venice Biennale 2018 for the design and construction of one of the world's largest 3D printed structures. Currently, he's developing his startup Drag and Drop in Bucharest, a technology company specialized in large-scale 3D printing. So next, we'll have Stefanos.
Hey there, I am Stefanos Panankopoulos, and I am a graduate of the National University of Athens. And I will be in the lead, I hope not alone, to be honest, if there's an abundance of participants involved, like of the study lab, of the theory lab. And my past starts actually before DesignMorphine, because I know Pavlina from way too back, and I have helped her and worked with her on many projects developing the theoretical framework. So to be fair, this is the reason I was approached to be part of this master. I am probably the newest addition to this, because I think they haven't really delved into the theoretical side of things too much over the last years. But anyways, this is an exciting opportunity for me, because I believe that it will be a very refreshing experience to see theory as part of the process of making, and not something that you just learn about, different models and structures and so on. It will be a lab. You're going to develop theories. People are going to test their theories through the design chapters, and there will be a feedback process that, in the end, what I would like to be the outcome of all this is that not only some design outcomes that you can present to someone, but also a theoretical framework that you can pursue further in other opportunities. You can expand it further and create some kind of chain that begins in this master, right? It's not something that is going to be contained within this 9 months of courses and then eradicates, vaporizes. And as I said in the beginning, because it is a very cutting edge subject, we're going to use a variety of sources. It's not going to be like only bibliography or some other kind of already established sources, but also material from any kind of source related to this subject. And I think this will be a very refreshing experience, and I hope to see a lot of you there and work with this excellent team of members of the DesignMorphine.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Dustin?
Yeah, I'm here.
There you are.
Hey, Mike. Hello, everyone. My name is Dustin White, and I'll be taking the lead on the Proto Lab and teaching that collaboratively with Edwin Hernandez of Shape Diver. To give you a little background about myself, I'm an architect and fabricator working in New York City. Currently the director of digital technologies and fabrication and an adjunct assistant professor at the New York Institute of Technology, where I'm running 2 labs, both one in Manhattan and one in Long Island. I also have my own practice here in New York, where I'm kind of focused on interior architecture, exhibition design, and product design. Mostly I'm working to fabricate many of my own projects, whether it's exhibitions, pieces of furniture. I also work directly with many companies, most recently companies in Italy, focusing in robotic fabrication in stone. And then I've worked as a traditional architect for many years, practicing in both Texas and North Carolina, building architecture as well. Yeah, so I think that's kind of my background. I think we have an interesting kind of introduction and course setup in fabrication that really give you some great tools and great knowledge about how to engage digital fabrication and apply that to your work. So we look forward to meeting you and working with you soon. Thanks.
Thank you. Edwin?
Yep. So hello, everyone. I am Edwin Hernandez. I'm lead parametric designer at Shapediver. I'm going to be helping Dustin in the prototype lab. For those that to remember, for everyone, is Shapediver will be giving a partial scholarship or a scholarship, and we will be releasing the name of who will be winning this scholarship soon. A bit of my background. So I am the lead parametric designer at Shapediver. I studied architecture in Andes University in Bogota, Colombia, my hometown, and computer animation at SA Institute in Melbourne, Australia. I started working as a solopreneur with clients in Australia and New Zealand, with projects that gave me the opportunity to learn the use of BIM software, parametric design, and web coding. With this experience, I was able to join the Shapediver team in Vienna, Austria, where I have been challenged with all kinds of projects in the 15+ industries we work with in Shapediver. Throughout this project, I have learned how to create highly optimized and highly complex parametric models, coding with C#, creating custom plugins for Grasshopper, and creating cloud applications based on Grasshopper. Currently, I'm also the lead project manager at Shapediver, and I teach everything what I have learned via our blog, the Shapediver blog, the YouTube channel, and our webinars. So I hope to see you all in the prototype lab to use a bit of the Shapediver power. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Lucia.
Hello, everyone, and thank you very much, Pavlina and DesignMorphine, for this amazing opportunity. It's so lovely to see you all here. And my name is Lucia Frascerra. I studied architecture at the University of Florence, and I'm specialized in architectural visualization. Architectural visualization was always my great passion. So after graduation, I decided to move to London from Italy, where I've been working as an architectural visualizer for now over 6 years. I've worked for some of the most influential studios of the archviz industry, such as D-Box, Cityscape Digital, and Sick Smith, where I'm currently working as a senior visualization artist. Working during this time with clients and projects from all over the world, and I got the chance to learn many different techniques and styles to produce beautiful images. During this course, I will focus more on the post-production phase of the process of the image making, which is something that is really, really important in my personal workflow. Post-production is done in my case in Photoshop, and it comes right after the rendering phase. To me, post-production is what really elevates the image to the next level, and it also gives the artist a chance to express themselves, as post-production is something very much subjective and more artistic than technical, I would say. And that's why I like it so much. And I am very much looking forward to meet you all, guys, and teach you what I know about post-production. Thank you.
Thank you. Yavor?
Hi team, hi guys. My name is Yavor Stoikov. Greetings from Sofia, Bulgaria. I'm CG specialist in Chaos Group. 18 years experience in the CG industry, the last 11 years in Chaos Group. So with this experience, I'm happy that for this chance to can share my knowledge with you for the shading, lighting, framing, the camera framing, then in the rendering, in Rhino and Grasshopper and Maya 2. So as a background, architectural background, but I jumped in Chaos Group. Here in Chaos, I'm leading a sub-team responsible for videos, images, training, custom trainings, and all of these edu materials. So that's for me. I'm really happy that we can meet in a couple of months. Thanks.
Thank you. For any of you, if you're unclear about what Chaos Group is, it's the group that makes V-Ray, if any of you are not familiar with that. So next is Eduardo, who I think is not here. Right? Eduardo, he's part of robotics. He's the robotics lab. Is an architect and researcher who works to discover how technology can transform architecture and its processes to improve people's lives. He holds a master's degree of architecture from CEU San Pablo University in Spain, a Fab Academy diploma on digital fabrication offered by the Fab Lab Network, and a master's degree in advanced architecture from IAC, Spain, with a specialization in digital fabrication, materiality, and new design methodology. He holds a Spanish architectural license. In addition, he has worked at Fab Lab Seoul, director and researcher in several architecture studios, computational design and fabrication professor at CEU University, advisor as fabrication expert for different architecture collectives, and he is usually a collaborator in Fab Lab Madrid. He's seeking to achieve an innovative architecture that attempts to solve and adapt to social needs. He's currently a PhD candidate at Swinburne University in Melbourne, Australia, a digital fabrication expert. As a digital fabrication expert, he is the faculty in the Master in Advanced Ecological Buildings, OTF, Printing and Architecture, Master in Design for Emergent Futures at IAC Fab Lab Barcelona. And for him, working in multiscalar environments is a priority in architecture today. So next is Tayun.
Hello guys. So I will be teaching the VR lab with Dimitri. I am part of the computational design group, code group at Zaha Data Architects. I've done my master's at DRL at AA School in London, an undergrad in Seoul and Chicago. I have taught AA Visiting School in Shenzhen and Social Algorithms Workshop in Seoul last year with Professor Sumin Ham from SciArc. I have, before Zaha, after graduating DRL, I've worked at ACOM, where I was researching and developing generative algorithms, parameter facade, and cloud network solutions for AEC DFMA. Currently at Code, we also use Unreal for a project called Roatan Prospera, which is also online if you're interested. I think Unreal opens new doors to showcase your projects in a different way and in a more wider spectrum. And I hope you can learn to showcase your projects in a more various way, more exciting way with us. And I look very much forward to it. Thank you.
Thank you. And last but not least, Dimitri.
Man with the mask, sorry for that, but I'm lucky enough to be at the office tonight. Yeah, I have to. So I'm Dimitri. Nice to meet you all. It's really wonderful to see so many talented people over here. I myself started out in Romania, did a little stint of 10 years in Denmark. Now I'm back in Romania for a while thanks to the pandemic. In Denmark, I've graduated from the Royal Danish Academy, and I've had the pleasure to work for Bjarke Ingels Group for the last 8 years, where for the last 4 years I've been a project leader. And I've been lucky enough to work on some pretty crazy projects, from real projects with 50-meter cantilevers that are getting built right now to projects that should be built on Mars and on other planets, and a lot of, let's say, very interesting research projects that deal with how we're going to build and live in the future and how new cities are going to get built.
Did we lose you?
And there's always been a question of how to present all of these things and how do you convince people that these are actual things that you should kind of really pay attention to for the future, and they're like real ideas and something that you should consider seriously. And somehow Unreal, I've had the chance to use it on maybe like 15-20 projects now, and it's been kind of a good tool on kind of all scales. And I really like the fact that this masters kind of covers so many different scales of architecture somehow. And I think VR is a good tool, not only in the end, but also, let's say, in the process. As for example, us in the competition department at BIG, we use it a lot, let's say, during competitions to evaluate our designs, and of course also to do like fast animations for presentations. But yeah, hope to see many wonderful projects like towards the end of this process. So yeah, see you.
Thank you. Okay, so that is all of the tutors and staff of this master's degree. Before we continue on to the Q&A, I just want to remind you, firstly, if you have a question, please, there's a Q&A button at the bottom. Please write your question there. Alternatively, if you would like to, let's see here, allow any, yeah. So if you would like to ask a question live, either through voice or camera, there is a raise hands button. If you raise your hand, we can put on your camera and you can, be part of the discussion. So yeah, please feel free, ask questions. Now is a great time to ask any question you have. And I'll just share my screen real quick before we start answering. On our website here, we have the 4 webinars here coming up, which are also small parts of the, they're inspired by this master's degree and its chapters. So if you would like a small, introduction to some of these topics, please check those out. Bionic articulations, contorted compositions, kinetic correlations, and scripted synergies, they all are taking place in the first 2 weekends of February. And I also just want to point out, I'm sure many of you have looked already at the master's degree page. If you're interested to learn more about any of the people who spoke today here, you can click their name here in the team section of the details, and you will be brought to their, a page about their details, either their social page or their personal website or their DesignMorphine website. So if you would like to learn more about any of our tutors, just click, go to the details section of the master's degree and just click on any of their names to learn more about them. So I'll stop the share here, and we have some questions rolling in Q&A. So let me. You have the Q&A here.
Yeah, I have it. So I can start like with some of the questions. I can read them and like answer some of them. If there is something for chapter 2, if the lead of the chapter is here, they can also like join the conversation. You guys can see the questions too. Also, feel free to raise your hand if you like to, ask us some questions live, or just like to have a more conversation type, experience. But however, I'll start with the first one. I see that the first question is about if the master's is intended to be conducted in a full-time capacity, or if there is a expectation of courses, classes, and hours per week. I would say that we will have like pre-recorded sessions and live sessions. How we're going to organize exactly the hours per week, it's going to depend a lot on the participants, to be honest, like the students of the master's degree, and which time zones they're going to be in. So if they are in, if we have like a lot of participants from different time zones, we may need to like separate these. But I would say that the program is pretty engaging in general. So that's why we're saying that, work, it's not you would have to like take a decision if you're actually working and try to do the master's. There is a decision that you would have to make according to your level of expertise with 3D programs or computational design. But with that being said, we have the leading chapters, which are around 1 month long, and the shorter labs, which are around 1 week. So as you can imagine, when we have like a longer chapter, there's going to be a bit more space and time for you to create your designs, while where we're working with the labs, it might be a more intense experience. So that's like, what I can give as an information right now as per hours, and how the structure of the master's is going to be. So the next question is there any certification or recording from any of the software companies the master's is leveraging, such as getting a Maya user certification? Well, from this master's degree, this is a Master of Science, so you are gaining a Master of Science degree. It's not a workshop, I can say. So since it's not a workshop, that means that like we're not giving you a certification for a software. We're giving you a certification from a university. That's the University of Civil Engineering and Geodesy, Architectural Civil Engineering and Geodesy in Sofia, Bulgaria, which is accredited worldwide. So that means like I've experienced that myself, because like I've been moving west for a while, basically like from Greece to London to the US. So my certification has been always accepted. I see the next question, which is how will elements such as prototyping or robotics will be conducted in the master's program. So that basically, this part of how this is going to happen is that prototyping, you're going to visualize and learn how to use the machines, but we're not going to have any expectations of you making actual models. And that's because we understand, first of all, that of course it's not easy for you to gain access to the machines that we're going to be looking at. But however, the logic behind how you prepare the files for something like that, it's absolutely crucial if you're part of a master's degree about, like a design and advanced in computational design even more. And that's something that you will be working with if you choose to pursue a career like that. So working with the prototyping lab is going to be just like a visualized version of that. If we decide, we can print some of these pieces for you, or we can prepare some of these models, but that doesn't mean that like you need to go and do that. For the robotics lab though, that's going to be the only one that actually you will be working with swarm robots, and we're going to let you know what exactly materials you need to buy in order to create them. But that's going to be with Eduardo, who is going to like walk you through this experience of how you actually like build them. So there's going to be different kind of you know, like tutorials of how you to build your own models according to, you know, whatever type of swarm robot you're developing and the different sensors that you might choose to work with. And that's because obviously it's a very different experience to, you know, get your hands on the robots, like to understand like how to work with them. While with prototyping, I would say that if you understand how to prepare your files, it's pretty straightforward to, you know, use the machine itself, or just send it to a lab that can laser cut or vacuum form or 3D print for you. So I see a question from Matthew. Oh, okay, sorry guys, like I think I went the other way. Okay, is there a possibility for Fatima? She's asking, do we have the possibility to enroll in one of the chapters? Unfortunately, you don't have this possibility. This is a full master's degree program. So that means that if you're interested in just one of the chapters and want to learn a little bit more about it, you can take on the webinars that we are offering. That's how you can, you know, like learn only about these specific chapters. This specific chapter, but the master's degree, like basically means that you have to take all of them together. So we have another question. My background is in architecture with an interest in structural engineering. Can you talk more about how structural engineering principles will be addressed, incorporated in the program? So for that part, I would say that basically like about the structural engineering, like I don't know if Andrei wants to like jump into like some, because that's his you know, area of expertise. If not, I can basically like talk more about it, but I would say it's more about like optimization of processes that we're going to be looking into. And of course, because many people have in the master's program for, you know, from different backgrounds, they're going to bring their own perspective. So if somebody is coming from an engineering background, definitely, you know, that's the emphasis they might want to, you know, like put into like how they're developing their project. If you're from the fashion design industry, that's going to be like maybe another lens of how you would like to approach it. However, I think that the most important part is that we will be working with coding, and we will be working with optimization of structures. So it really depends on you and how you want to lead your design language, and how important, you know, like this engineering part is going to be for you. So I hope I covered this question about the engineering. So we have Jawad. I hope I pronounce the name correctly. So here the question is, can you talk please more about the scholarships and how to gain one of them? So for the scholarships, all the information, there are 3 scholarships. One is from Shape Diver, from DesignMorphine, and from Pavlina Kapitanska. So we have 3 scholarships available. And if you download the application PDF, you're going to see basically what requirements you need to fulfill in order to apply for them. But how to gain one of them, I would say that maybe that's the question more about how one can basically be a good candidate about that. We're asking for a portfolio, and I think that that's going to be obviously an important part to show a diversity of projects in scale and in approach. But Also, I would say like it's going to be very important for us in the selection process to see that like you're comfortable with working in a team environment, and also you're curious, and like the attitude is actually going to be very, very important for this master's degree, because we work in a very, very collaborative way. This is the most important part for us, and as you could even see from these amazing tutors that are here today, many of them we've worked together in the past, like in different offices or schools, and that's what we want to nurture in this master's program. It's very important for us that you guys come with, an open mind, and with, thirst for knowledge, but also for communication and connection with other people. So I think that these are going to be the most important parts for us in this master's program, and how to select the students and the scholarships. So I see here a question about Simina Joanna. Are some materials that we need to buy for the theoretical part as well? I would say that the theoretical part, you will need to probably, like, we're going to like send you some of the materials. There might be a book or two that, like you might need to buy, or like on the other hand, like depending on what kind of material you'll be working with, because there might be, as I said, like some movies that you might need to stream or watch, or like it really depends where your idea is going to like take you at. Stefan, I don't know if you have anything to add about this one.
No, it's actually like that, like what you said. It depends on the theory, the scenario they're going to create, and they're going to use any material they like. We will provide them also with online material or any kind of material we think it's appropriate to help them enhance the scenario, but there's no prerequisites like that you need to buy or something like that.
Yeah. Basically, the whole idea of the masters is like, to be able basically to be minimum on expenditure outside of, the cost, because we understand, the times are difficult, and also that's why, we're trying to leverage the virtual world at the end of the day. Okay, so what is the consideration of the program? Should be the Master of Science program, not a Master of Design program. Well, this is the certification we're getting. It is a Master of Science, because I would say like it is more than a Master of Design. You're not just learning how to design something, you're actually going into encoding behavior, you're going into learning a lot of software too, you're going into like a totally different mindset of approaching. And as like I think actually Mateusz was mentioning too, like like there are many industries that you can apply that. We're now focused obviously on the design industry, and we're talking about design, but at the end of the day, we do have even engineers applying for this program, or roboticists. We have people that are, like working in the medical industry, that are applying like a lot of these computational design techniques into their workflows. So depends really on how you want to leverage this. You like in your future development, but this is why this is a Master of Science, and I would say like it actually opens more doors, having a broader, like catching a broader net with a Master of Science rather than Master of Design, to be honest. You never know where your journey is going to lead you. Okay, so I'll leave a bit more the questions that are more, like specific to, like deposits and, like some exams at the end, if you don't mind. But I will answer them. So, I'm just like going through them one by one. Okay. So I see one from Rachel. How do you plan to accommodate students of varying skills levels, particularly those without an architecture degree? well, this is our area of expertise, I could say, with design morphing. We're very, very comfortable with working with people who have no, previous experience beforehand. And, even Radu, actually, you were one of those that started with design morphing, and you had architecture experience, but you didn't have any computational design experience. And you learned so much even in 5 days. So maybe you can tell us something a bit more about that. You're muted.
Sorry, I said that was a long time ago.
Yeah.
My first workshop, I just graduated with my master's degree, and the parametric design was a complete novelty for me. And it was just for a few days. It was I think 6 or 7 days workshop, but the tutors were proficient enough to give us the foundation on which the participants got to build upon then. And it was just for 7 days, and it was far from the 9 months program that we've prepared here. So everybody who tutors workshops and will be participating in the master's degree have a lot of experience in how to communicate hard and complex concept to people from all kinds of background and experience. So I think that's all.
Yeah, thank you.
For me,
yeah.
We do this a lot. If someone has less experience, we'll help them get up to speed. If someone has more experience, we'll kind of let them run a bit as far as they want to go. But we're obviously we're not expecting everyone to be at the same level, and we will be catering to that to make sure that we're accommodating everyone's level of skill, their background, and kind of like where they want to go with it too, because also we're experienced in a lot of our workshops with people from all kinds of backgrounds as well. We don't only or exclusively have architects at our workshops. I would say there was even some workshops where architects were in the minority. So it's something we're familiar with and comfortable with, and there shouldn't be any concern on your end with that if you're interested in this program.
Perfect. So we have another question from Eileen. How many participants will be expected, and is there a minimum or maximum to the course? And do we do projects in groups? Well, I think that we're expecting, I would say, around 15 students. But the challenging part here is that, and what we need to actually see how it's going to develop is where the students are going to be from. So that's how we're going to take some decisions about how we distribute the live sessions, and that's how we're going to see if there is any opportunity for projects into groups according to these time frames. And also going into the master's chapters, obviously going into the the detailed part of them and looking into them, and where there are opportunities either to work with somebody else and split the workload, or if somebody actually wants to work on their own because of because they might not have the opportunity to be more engaging with somebody else. So I would say that this is actually open for discussion, and it's open to different kind of people and how they would like to work too. And again, we just need to see how many people we're going to have in the groups and what the time zones are going to be in order to be sure on how to answer and how we'll proceed with the group settings. But we'll try to keep things simple, I would say, because we understand that everyone has a totally different, reality at this point, depending on where they are in the world.
And I think it's important to look at these. Chapters. Can you mute? I think it's important to look at these chapters in as a kind of lens and framework. We're really trying to look at computational design as a profession in its own. And that's why in the presentation we talked about like multi-scalar, multi-field. So we would really, we'd really like the kind of applicants to have their interests come through in the work that they're doing and the results they're achieving, because all of these techniques and applications we'll be teaching could be, again across any kind of field or application or scale. So it's just also something we're interested in too. So in terms of like groups and stuff like that, if we go that that route, we'll be trying to find members that are interested in the same kind of result of that.
So the next question is from Gaia. Will there be a possibility to meet all during a study trip? I think that one is for Sveti. Svetlina.
Yes, we have that possibility. We are having 1 or 2 study trips depending on where all the students are from. For example, for sure, one of the study trips will be in Europe, and eventually we'll have another one in USA for those who are from there. I think it will be very interesting and inspiring to meet each other after a few months of online teaching and studying. So I'll be leading one of the study trips, and I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's going to be exciting. Hopefully that, with the current situation,
yeah, of course.
permitted at that time.
Hopefully, hopefully in 2022, it will be okay for us to go on a study trip.
Perfect. Okay, the question from Carlos is, were there already a pre-selection for scholarships? No, for the scholarships, we are waiting for everyone to submit their portfolios in the early bird application process, which is until the end of February, the 28th. So that's where we're actually going to start this process with, like a shape diver, and we're going to take some, look into everyone's portfolios and, all the material that they have provided us. That's where, the selection process is going to be. So in the application, you can see like all the dates and gates of how this is going to be distributed. We're going to be punctual with these dates, and, in order to make sure exactly that we inform people on time about like this selection process. So there is a question to Michael. Will you be teaching any of the chapter lessons from Walter?
Yeah, I think that's a good question that maybe we kind of glance over. But so there's two mentors. There's me and Arturo, and then you also have Ada and Tung, who are also in their different leads, like core leads and teaching assistant. So us four, and then of course with Svetlina and Pavlina, will kind of be basically involved in everything. So floating in and out of everything basically, and also all of our tutors and whatnot, they're all part of specific chapters and labs. But that's, since it's an online experience, that's not to say that, you might not have a tutor from one lab, chime in on something from another chapter, or, it's, there's going to be, focused leads for those groups. But in general, there'll be some overlap and mixes of tutors and input as well, which is going to make it also a really, I think, interesting experience. But in terms of me and Arturo as mentors, will be definitely like floating in kind of all of the activities.
Have another question about schedule. So it's by anonymous attendee. What are your current thoughts regarding daily and weekly class schedule? I think that like one of the questions before that was about that. So as I mentioned before, this has to do with either if you're basically going through the experience of a lab or a chapter. If it's a chapter, that means that it's going to be a longer experience and it's going to allow for more time for you to work on your design. While if there is a lab, it's going to be more intense. More intense, it means that maybe there might be like everyday classes on the labs. While with chapters, there might be a possibility that, you know, like we skip at least like 1 or 2 days in the week. So we allowed some time for you to work on that. With this being said, you won't be, you know, in live sessions 8 hours per day as, you know, like a normal university would be, because like we're online. So there are going to be some pre-recorded sessions that you can watch in your time, and then the live sessions are going to be you know, like shorter, I would say, you know, maybe like 2 to 4 hours daily, so we don't keep you in front of the computer for an enormous amount of time per day. So that's what I can disclose right now about like the schedule, but keep in mind this is a full-time master's degree. It's not a part-time one, and that's why it's going to be involved, because we're going through a lot of software, we're going through a lot of you know, like a very big project. So definitely it's not you know, like something that you can just like come into the class just once a week. It's going to be involved, I would say, and that's why we will get like very good results, I believe, because there's going to be an opportunity for you to learn. And at the end of the day, like all these amazing like people here and the team, it's going to be able like to work with you on a you know, like in their chapters, in their labs, in order like for you to learn more from it.
Yeah, I would also say we're going to be very kind of very fluid in the way that we work, meaning that and very reachable, I would say, meaning, you know, all the participants and whoever is part of this master's, all the tutors will be kind of in a group together. There's a kind of whole system of like group platforms and communication system that, you know, it's not going to be like, oh, I missed this live, I don't know, class, I can't ask questions. I mean, it's going to be like a kind of 24-hour kind of access. You know, people might not answer you 24 hours a day, but it's going to be this kind of very ongoing collaborative situation where you know, your requests and needs will be answered and met and catered to, kind of, in my opinion, the way I see it, around, you know, around the clock, because everyone's in so different time zones. So there's also nothing to worry about in terms of that aspect. That there'll be some kind of structured, you know, lessons, tutorials, recordings, or live, but also it's accessible if you're like on a, you know, random Wednesday afternoon, have a question about your design or some system, and you can ask, and the group is there, and some tutor or anyone can answer and help you.
The next question from Alejandro, it's after selection, what is the deadline to pay the deposit? So that's again like in the PDF, like it's outlined that as soon as you're basically accepted in the program, that's basically the time that you're going to be asked to do so. So you first need to go through the, you know, selection process and ask to provide all your documentation in order to reach that state. Okay, I see, if I work full time, would that create issues in taking part? I don't think I could make take 9 months off.
I can take this. So, I mean, it's going to be just like any college experience. And that is, you know, like even when I went to college or anyone went to college, there's people that can go to college and work and people that can't. So, I mean, this is just really going to be up to you, your time management skills, and your lifestyle. Me personally, when I went to college, I didn't work, but I know many people that did work, did amazing in college, did amazing work. Some people, they did work and they couldn't find, you know, time for the classes. So it really, really just depends on you as a person, your work ethic and your time management, and you know how demanding, you know, your job might be over something else. This is the kind of program, being online, where, you know, of course there are hard deadlines and things that need to be met, but it's also a very kind of like on your time schedule in terms of like the work that you need to produce. So again, it just really it's there's no definitive answer because just everyone's the same, and it wouldn't be any different than a kind of normal college experience where we, you know, like I said, we've all known people who have worked and gone to college, didn't work and gone to college. Some of the people of our tutors worked when they went to college, some didn't. It's just depends on the person.
Pavlina, you're muted.
Go. Thank you, Ada. The next question is from Alejandro. Do you recommend any specific preparation in mathematics before the master? I don't think that you need any preparation in mathematics. You might need to look into 3D design programs at least, you know, like maybe you can start with Maya or Rhino, or, you know, like if you already know those, you can go more into Grasshopper. Then if you know that, you can work with Houdini or scripting. So depend on which level you are in. It depends on which level of complexity you can handle. I would say just like push yourself to the next level, since we have plenty of time until we start. The program starts in September, but I don't think that you need mathematics in order to prepare.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, the more you know, the better. But we're not expecting anyone to come into this as an expert. If you were an expert, you wouldn't need to come to the degree program. But you know, the more I would say at least like be familiar with things. You don't need to be an expert of them. Just like know kind of like, you know, if you are using, you know, you can see a list of the software we're using. You know, it might be good to open it up and just check out like the interface, like just even see like what the software looks like. In terms of mathematics, you know, like I'm a very efficient Grasshopper user and coder, and I will say I'm nowhere near a mathematician. I find what I need at the moment, and there's many resources for all that stuff. Yeah, I mean, there's just so many mathematics that it would be hard to suggest anything because, you know, these kind of things are always kind of specific to what you're doing. So I would just say be familiar with the softwares that we've listed, but you don't need to be an expert, or even you don't even need to be like a very good beginner. Just have a little bit of familiarity.
Thank you for adding this, Mike. I have another question from Simina Ioanna about the work samples from the application form. The sample should be different from the ones inside the portfolio, or they should and can be the same. So these samples are for the applications, for all application, obviously, but if you don't have a portfolio, that's where they're very important, because that's the glimpse that we can see of the work of the applicant. But if you are, you know, submitting your portfolio, obviously we're going to go more in depth and look into the projects, and that means basically that you are applying for a scholarship. So I would leave that to you if you like to use the same ones, if they're the best representation of your work, or if you want to use something different, it's up to you. It doesn't really matter because the portfolio here is going to be the most important part, since again, if you are submitting a portfolio, that means that you are applying for a scholarship. Okay, so we have Pedro, who is saying, I have some issues with the international English exam here in Peru due to COVID. Institutions are not taking TOEFL exam. Just want to know if there is a date limit of sending that certificate. Yes, again, in the application PDF, you can see that date. I think it's the end of April, actually, that we can still accept this, you know, like English certification. But yeah, definitely look into this, you know, like date, because we can wait for that. So you can apply with all the documents that you need right now, and then provide this information on a later date. Also, I think that, you know, like it's a pretty lenient program, I would say, with the language certification, because if you have studied in a university that it's English speaking, again, we're taking this into consideration. So you may not even need to actually like sit, you know, like a TOEFL test. But that really depends like on your background. If that's not the case, then I would say, yes, you have plenty of time to do so. And please feel free to email us too with like some additional questions about that if you have any. So we have Romit after that. My bachelor's degree will complete in June, so we will be able to apply for the course. I think that like it might be challenging for you, because like if your bachelor's degree is complete, then you might not have your diploma ready. But I think that like you might be able to apply in the later date. And just make it. So I would say that maybe the best way to work with you might be through email and seeing like if, you know, there is a possibility to provide the information that you need for the master's, like as a late application. We can try to work it out, but I can't promise, basically. Yara is asking, will the master's program be offered next year? Hopefully, yes. Our work with the University of Architecture and Civil Engineering and Geodesy in Bulgaria, basically this is a contract that we're having, and it doesn't have an expiration date. So that means that if there are students that are interested to take this program next year, you know, that there is going to be a possibility if you still haven't completed your studies in bachelor's degree. Gaia is asking, can you help us with the software's equipment? So I guess the question is about, we will give you all the information about like and links to the softwares that you need to download, and also their educational versions of all these. So most of them are going to be like free educational versions.
That's right. So most of the software we're using, maybe apart from Rhino, which does have a fee. It's a small fee, smaller than the normal fee for education. But the other software, I'm just trying to think off the top of my head all the software we're using. Maya is free for 3 years. So just to be clear, we've already confirmed with software companies. It's an accredited degree. So you are eligible with this degree for education licenses. I believe, do they get an EDU like email also with our degree? You know, yeah, we have to check. But either way, we've already confirmed. Like, so
yes, they all the students will have an email from the university, so they could get any kind of educational software they would like.
Yeah. So I mean, this is all going to be set up again, like with the university, meaning that we'll have the proper channels of email and communication, and it's not going to just be like just this kind of loose Zoom stuff that we do for the webinars. It's pretty, official and set up the system. That also means you get EDU license access, and almost every software we're using is free or has a free EDU. Like the Autodesk stuff gives you, every Autodesk software gives you 3 years for free with an EDU license. Unreal is free to use. There is a pretty much full version of Houdini, which is free, the apprentice version. I don't think we would need more than that, because we're not doing like we're not doing like movies. So in terms of software, the only one I can think of off the top of my head that costs a fee is Rhino, and you would have the ED pricing for that. And of course, we can help you with installation if you're unfamiliar with how to install those things.
So the next question is, my bachelor degree was in English medium. Do I need to submit an English language certificate? If you have studied in an English speaking university, then you don't need to submit an English language certificate. When the start and stop times for classes be, and in which time zone typical? So that's going to be depending on which time zone, basically, like it's going to be comfortable for you, because I don't think that there is going to be just one live session. I think we are going to break the live sessions to shorter live sessions, but two maybe, like depending on the time zone that it's more comfortable for you. So if you're in India or in Singapore, then obviously you might be in one time zone, and if you're for instance in the US, there might be a second time zone, like to have your live sessions. Again, there is a live session portion, and there is the pre-recorded session of portion of the master's degree. So the pre-recorded you can watch whenever you like. The ones which are going to be the live ones, we will come back to you with this information as soon as we know where the participants are, and we can distribute equally the time, because you can imagine that if we have participants from Asia, which are like the majority, then we'll have to calibrate the time according to give enough time for people from that side to have their live sessions.
Yeah, I mean, the goal is for everyone to have some amount of live. Again, live meaning just a tutorial that's live. That doesn't mean that's the only live interaction with us, with the tutors. That's just like strictly, we're just talking about now, like the tutorial session. And also the live tutorials would be recorded as well, if anyone misses that. So Zoom will be the primary thing for the teaching, the kind of webinar style teaching of the software, but it's not going to be the primary. I would say it's going to be the primary tool for this master's degree. Obviously we're going to be using collaborative tools, group tools. I don't remember, Study, was there one from the school, or I don't remember if I asked you that.
Yes, there is a specific software that the university is using. It's not Zoom, it's another type of software that is specifically made for the university, but it's basically similar to what we are using now with Zoom.
And and we'll be in a collaborative environment.
Yes.
With chats and videos and
yeah.
all that fun stuff. So yes, it will definitely be a very highly collaborative and interactive and kind of catered experience. I think.
And also definitely we'll be using Miro too for the boards, because it just, I don't know if you've used it before, but it's amazing in the way that you can like real time, you know, like just drop something and just easier to see the boards and, you know, like edit, leave comments, and, you know, like have exactly like a very seamless workflow. That's something that we're using currently, and it's very, very helpful, to be honest.
Yeah, if you're not familiar with Miro, it's basically a giant collaborative whiteboard where you can put anything, draw anything, drop anything, write note anything, see everyone collaborating on it together.
So from Carlos, we have the same question. Will be this or similar degree next year? Yes, hopefully this is the first year of this master's degree, and hopefully next year there is going to be the second year moving forward. Another question is, oh, okay. So the point system from Ramsey. Ramsey is asking, what is the point system of how you evaluate? So the point system in Bulgaria, because that's where the university is, it's 6. 6 is basically the best that you can get, but actually. You know, like in your diploma, it's going to be very obvious if this is, you know, like that's why you have like a supplement that you're getting according to the studies that you've had, the hours, and always it clearly states, you know, what is the grading systems, exactly that A basically is a 6, B is a 5, and so on. And it's going to be very clear when you have your diploma, wherever you go, that, you know, if you have received an honor, or you have received, you know, like exceptional, you know, like grade with your studies. So no matter what the point system is, it's going to be clear in which bucket this falls in. If it's very good, excellent, or so on. Also, there is a second question. Will be any physical models required? Do we need to access some type of fabrication lab or wood shop or print shop? So the best part is that no, you don't need to. The only physical models that we're going to make have to do with the robotics lab, and that's where we're going to let you know which exact equipment you need in order to make your own swarm robots at home. So everything is going to be delivered to you. For the physical models in the prototyping lab, you don't need to physically make them, because the important thing is for you to understand how to prepare your files and how to actually, like, you know, be able to send them. If these files were ready to send, that they would work. You know, that's what we care about, that you know how to use these machines. But here, this master's degree is going to be you know, like catered to, and it's going to be focused on the virtual world. That's the goal here.
And for the Fab Lab, I don't think Dustin's here anymore, but basically the idea is that you would learn how to design, set up, and prepare you know, objects for fabrication, different types of fabrication. And you would be sending those over to the Fab Lab. And then Dustin, who, you know, runs the Fab Lab and equipment, would be, you know, helping you understand these, you know, these processes.
Yeah, yes, exactly. It's basically basically gets with the Fab Lab, it's exactly preparing the files, understanding how to prepare them, understanding how to use the machines. If you want to send them out, if you want to print something, it's up to you. And also from our part, we can print some of these out, you know, for an exhibition or take some pictures for you. But, you know, that's not, you know, the primary goal. It's more understanding how to use them and what the techniques are. Okay, so I think we have another question from Alejandro. All my education has been in Mexico, but I'm from the US and bilingual. Do I need a TOEFL certification? I'm getting all these questions. No, you don't, because you're bilingual. And guys, make sure that you download the application PDF, because all this information is there. So it's going to be very clear, like that, you know, like there, that if you are from the US, if you are bilingual, you don't need the certification. You know, it's obvious you can handle the language. Is the, let me see, is the admit, oh, okay. There is a question if we'll have an interview with the applicants. No, we won't. It's based only on applications. So that's where, you know, you get to present yourself, and that's, you know, there is a small space there to talk about your interests, you know, your bio. So we're going to get to know you in this way. For this year, there are not going to be any interviews. It's all going to be through this application. Also, let me see, we will have an identity card or portal login to UACG. Yes. Like everything, like basically the UACG is providing all these platforms, because that's a university that we're working with, and they have all this set up. So you're going to get an email, you're going to get like, you know, identity card. I don't know if you need it because you're not entering the building, but you know, definitely like a portal login, definitely everything is going to be secure. Also your information obviously is very important. And you know, like everything that has to do with a master's degree is going to go through the platforms that the university already has, which, you know, are made for that. Oh, there is a good question actually about from Ramsey. Will be there live sessions that take place on a weekday or weekend? No weekend, for sure, no weekend. Okay, so that I can say for sure, like no matter which time zone you're working with, you know, you won't be having live sessions during a weekend. Okay, so that's an important one, and we will try also. Depending on, you know, like especially for the chapters, we're going to try to have like some days which are, you know, like within the chapters that are going to allow you for some free time that you can actually, you know, like focus on the work on your own. And there are going to be like some days that, you know, but you can also like reach to Ada and Tung for help, not just, you know, like your leads that definitely, you know, they're going to be like leading the chapters and the design, but also like Ada and Tung for going to be like throughout the whole journey with you. They're there assisting you, and they're there like to help you with the project. So, you know, like you are going to actually like have somebody to interact with and ask questions. And if there is not like a day which actually like you're meeting with your leads, you might be meeting with them and seeing, you know, how to approach your project and gain like some more help from them. Okay, the work samples that they need, the work samples that need to be uploaded, whether it should be CLG, competition works, or it can be a hobby exploration, anything you like, to be honest. Anything that like, you know, would speak to what kind of, you know, professional you are, what kind of a designer, where your interests lie, anything that basically, you know, like it's relevant to the master's degree and it's going to show, you know, like your personality. It's, you know, like it's going to be well received basically from our end. But of course, like just keep in mind, it is an application for our university, so it has to do with that, you know, like this hobby or exploration.
Yeah, I mean, we're looking at computational design as its own kind of entity that can cross fields. So we're not just looking for like, if you don't have architecture projects, because you might not be an architect, so you don't need just architecture projects or just, it can be anything kind of design related that you feel represents you and your interest in this program.
Do you want to answer the next about software engineering?
Yeah. So again, this isn't a structural engineering degree. It's a computational degree, and then of course there is some structural and engineering involved with computational design, but it's going to be heavily focused on the idea of computational design, which is the mindset about building and designing systems and becoming a kind of curator of those systems within the framework of our chapters. And people might even interpret these chapters differently than others. Some might not even interpret it as architecture, right? So that's also a thing. It's like the kind of idea is to bring your interests and what you're interested in into this framework as a guideline to develop something that's really kind of unique and meaningful to you as a student, but which explores and uses computational design methodology. If you're solely interested in structural engineering, we have plenty of tutors who are also do things with structural optimization and structure in kind of all sets of architecture and whatnot. So it'll definitely be around, but it's not going to be, I would say, it wouldn't be the main focus of our teachings, wouldn't be structural. That doesn't mean it can't be the main focus of your kind of projects and results.
Perfect. I think we answered all the questions.
Yeah, I mean, if anyone has any more questions, now's the time. Or if anyone happens to want to go on camera, you can raise your hand and we'll put you on camera. If not, we could end this thing. I know for me, at the kind of end of this, I just wanted to mention, if you're interested in this program, I'm sure we'll also, be interested in you and learning about you. And so definitely pay attention to the application deadlines. Don't miss them if you're interested in this program. It's going to be very difficult to try to extend deadlines. So just really pay attention to those deadlines. And honestly, if you're interested in this program, there's no application fee. So it's, I mean, you have nothing to lose by applying. So you might as well apply and see where it goes. And I look forward to, I personally look forward to seeing all of your applications all over, different professions and different people all around the world.
Yeah, thank you so much, everyone, for being part of today. It's a big team, but I'm excited because we all got to be together today with a few exceptions that couldn't make it. And it was just great. I hope that it was useful for you to hear from the team and understand exactly what we're our goal is and what our vision is. I would say that if you're shy and you didn't want to ask your question here, please feel free to email us and let us know any questions that you might have. We're happy to answer them really. I know it's a new master's degree. It's a totally new endeavor for us too. So that's why, obviously you might have some questions. And that they might arise even with time. So don't hesitate to ask us. Just email us, and we'll be there for you. We'll explain everything.
And what is that email address?
What is the email address? That's a good point.
masters@designmorphine.com.
Okay, we can write.
Yeah, thanks a lot everyone for joining us today, and really email us if you have any questions or doubts, or if you are already ready with your application, and you could send it to us no matter that there is time to the deadline. We'll be happy to see your work and documents, and thanks again for being with us today.
That's a great point, Svetlana. If you are, ready with application, I would say send it sooner rather than later, because, there might be something missing or something that you may need to provide. So in order to hit the deadline for the scholarships, just please make sure that you take this into consideration. Leave us some time to review and just get back to you if there are any additional information that we might need from you. But I think the process is pretty straightforward so far. Everyone who has applied, it has been, I would think, quite straightforward and easy for them.
Yeah, I mean, we already have people applying, and just looking forward to more.
Yeah.
Thank you all so much. Thank you all tutors who are here. Thank you, Orlin.
You.
Perfect. Yes, it's shaping as a very international team.
Yeah. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. It was great seeing you all.
Thank you all.
Bye.